Hello there and welcome. It's 12 p.m. on a rather busy Thursday, especially for us here at the Broadcast Center. As per usual, our resident crisis analyst Nordin Abdullah joins me. He walks us through the use of IoT, that's the Internet of Things, and AI, that's artificial intelligence, all to improve food security in the country, as well as the Indo-Pacific and global powers will be having that conversation. Up next, though, I speak to nephrologist Dr. RAFIDAH Abdullah on kidneys and the overconsumption of supplements, something we should all be wary of. All that coming up in the next half an hour. I'm Jessy Chahal and you're watching The Brief. Well, let's begin with news in brief, and let's start with this. Speaking at the 27th International Conference on the Future of Asia yesterday, the Prime Minister stressed that now is not the time for the world to remain divided. He calls for regional and international commitment to push through the various threats overtaking the world. Well, still on the Prime Minister and his attendance at the conference, he also proposed key points to enable Asia to play a role in leading what is a divided world at this point. He's addressed multilateral cooperation among countries in the region in addressing the challenges of climate change. And separately, the Transport Minister has announced that licenses of e-hailing operators can be revoked or suspended if they are found to be charging a surcharge above the set amount. Now, also, the Minister has emphasized that the fare should not be more than 200% of the base fare. E-hailing operators are charging between 70 cent and 90 cent per kilometer. Well, still on the issue of commute, the Putrajaya LRT line is now undergoing an 800 million ringgit midlife refurbishment. This refurbishment includes a level 4 maintenance, repair and overhaul of the 28 sets of train. And adding to that, the government is set to receive 19 new types of trains next year, all on the same line and for the same route. And the tourism ministry or tourism industry now is in need of new premium products to attract more quality tourists into the country. The Malaysia Inbound Tourism Association calls on industry players to take this opportunity to create attractions that promise unique experiences for tourists. Well, of course, that should not be much of a problem given that Malaysia has many natural and man-made tourist attractions. Well, it's time now to bring in Nordin Abdullah. We talk all things IoT and AI, but this point, of course, to improve security in the country. Nordin, welcome on board. According to the Science, Technology and Innovation Minister, Datuk Seri Dr. Adham Baba, the use of the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence can help improve food security in the country. The ministry say that they will assist farmers in using these technologies through collaborations with private and government agencies. Nordin, what is your opinion at this point, and what are the main things the government must look at and consider before pushing through this initiative to the farmers?
Well, firstly, it's an excellent initiative from Datuk Seri Adham Baba to use technology in a way that is going to assist the agricultural sector. One of the things that we're now looking at, especially from becoming a world-class producer of agricultural product, is how do we reduce bottlenecks and how do we reduce congestion within the supply chain? And part of that is to reduce the cost of compliance. And cost of compliance can be a big impact, can create a big impact on inflation, simply because farmers do know how to produce food, but what we need to do is get it from the farm all the way to the fork. So when we start to use technology to drive these initiatives, whether it's AI, whether it's Internet of Things, it starts to reduce the cost of compliance, will actually reduce the cost of food throughout the value chain. So that is what I hope the ministry will focus on in the next coming months.
But also at this juncture, are there any countries we can benchmark against? Which other countries have launched these initiatives and have they been successful?
Of course, being from Australia, I'm a little bit biased, but the Malaysia-Australia Business Council recently held a special meeting on how to help Malaysia address This simply because Malaysia is on the journey that Australia was on several years ago, and the Australian government has done a lot to benchmark cost of compliance as an understanding of cost of doing business, and as a way of reducing red tape. Because in terms of increased production is one area, but when we look at inflation, we're actually looking at the cost to the consumer. And that includes all this paperwork that needs to be done. So moving a lot of this stuff online, moving a lot of this stuff into apps, moving a lot of this stuff into using technology is going to be one of those ways. But of course, there's going to be a massive need to retrain a lot of the farmers and also the logistics players throughout the network. So while MOSTI is going to have to take a lead on the technology side, I believe there's going to be a need for interministerial collaboration to make sure this becomes a success story that we are, going to set the benchmark in ASEAN.
All right, Nordin, from that, let's move into the Indo-Pacific region and, of course, talking about global powers as well. And as we talk about security, it seems like now the Indo-Pacific region has become an alluring political destination for global powers to diversify foreign policy. Interests from the US and its allies, as well as countries like Russia and China, are showing that the emerging global order is likely to have the Indo-Pacific as a top priority. Basically, all eyes on the region. What is your current update about the Indo-Pacific and its movements right now, Nordin?
The Indo-Pacific is, of course, a huge area, massively diverse. All global powers at this stage, except for Europe, have a physical presence, geopolitical presence. Russia, China, and US all are part of the physical location that is the Indo-Pacific. So it is an area of high economic growth. It is an area of considerable change as well. So when we start to manage this and we start to look at what the next century holds, and when we look at the Indo-Pacific, we can look at what's happening tomorrow, but we've got to start to project well into the future, because this is where the global economy will grow the fastest, the deepest, and by far it's going to be the most strategic, seeing the rise of China, seeing the rise of other powers, especially when we look at the development, and you're seeing footage here of the Quad, which is the Australia, Japan, India, and Australia. They recently signed this agreement, and the US are pushing for what we're seeing is supply chain resilience. And it's not just looking at free trade agreements where RCEP has really become the biggest player on the block. Now the US is looking at how to create resilient supply chains within the Indo-Pacific to ensure that the production is there. The production is in locations that will enable for the production to actually flow into different countries. And that's going to be the key for this strategy.
Abdullah, thank you for that insight. We'll check in with you again very soon. Well, moving on to Business in Brief. Thanks for staying with us right here on this edition of The Brief. It's Thursday, of course, the 26th of May. Now, what's latest in business? What's trending in the ringgit? The local currency opened marginally higher against the greenback in the absence of hawkish surprises from the US Federal Open Market Committee this morning. As of 9 a.m. today, $1 is 4 ringgit and 39 cents. And onto the stock market, Bursa Malaysia extended yesterday's gains to open higher today, supported by continued buying interest in line with positive sentiments on the regional market. This according to dealers. As of 9:53 a.m. this morning, the benchmark FBM KLCI is up 0.35% to 1540.86 from yesterday's close. And from Bursa to sparkling gold, prices are down 32 cents, standing at 253 ringgit and 20 cents per gram. Separately, and still on the same conversation though, according to the finance minister, the pandemic presents a great reset for the economy, he says, which should not be wasted by addressing short-term economic issues. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, he explained Malaysia's introduction of stimulus packages and how its positive effects is good for national growth in the long term. And across to the subcontinent, Pakistan's mango farmers are expecting a 50% decline in yield this year as part of the ongoing heat wave and water shortage in the country. The untimely spike in temperature has dented production, forcing a re-evaluation of export targets. Well, Pakistan is the world's fifth largest mango producer, and some very sweet mangoes from there as well. Well, in our feature discussion today, we have with us a nephrologist from Hospital Putrajaya. Doctor, thanks for joining us. Of course, lots to talk about in today's segment. Dr. RAFIDAH Abdullah joins us. Doctor, I'm going to sort of get straight into it, with our topic today on supplements and kidney health. I, for one, buy umpteen amount of supplements thinking that I'm doing the right thing. Now, according to a quote of yours in a local daily recently, 70% of kidney ailments are caused by excessive intake of supplements, and this includes multivitamins. Can you give us a better explanation of this?
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. I think I need to explain that quote. It's a very important opening question. The reason, if you actually read the article, it was actually from my publication, which was published in a journal. It was a survey actually of hemodialysis patients. In that survey, which was done with the University Putra, Malaysia, we found that more than 60% were taking traditional and complementary medicine of all sorts. Including supplements, herbal, things like that. And from this number, around 74% did not inform us doctors managing. I think that was the real data from it, rather than not actually the 70% is of the patients that cause the supplement. Actually, the number one cause for kidney failure in Malaysia is actually diabetes. And if you look at incident patient, it's more than 74%. And if you look at a prevalent patient, it's around 64%. So that's the number one cause. Not particularly supplement. It's just the title was there for us to actually read inside. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for giving us a better understanding of that title. Before we get to supplements per se, let's talk about, for example, me walking to a pharmacy. Picture it if you're telling the pharmacist this, I feel lethargic, I need something to help me with this. For example, being a mom and multitasking, I would love to have some sort of supplement that would give me more energy, for example. Should I then buy a supplement if it's recommended by the pharmacist?
Okay, I think a good pharmacist. I mean, all the pharmacies across, they are licensed and they can practice and they can give advice. But what I feel, if it's a good pharmacist, what they will do is probably advise the patient to go and have themselves checked. Lethargy can be a lot of things. It can also be a symptom of kidney failure, for example. So, it's very difficult to actually give, a supplement or recommend something where you don't know what actually is the problem with your, that person's body. So that would be a better advice if you could advise them to go and see a doctor, have a full checkup, and then the doctor can recommend buying ABC, supplements from pharmacies.
So just to set the record straight, what you're recommending is that a consumer should go, or a patient should go and get a prescription from their doctor and then procure it from the pharmacist, as opposed to going to a pharmacist seeking for medical suggestions or advice on what kind of supplements to take, right?
Yeah. The reason why I'm saying that is because if you look at our survey, National Health Mobility Data Survey, 1 in 5 patients in Malaysia, 1 in 5 population in Malaysia has got diabetes. So you were talking about, more than 3-4 million population. So, if you walk in a pharmacy, if you are a pharmacist, for example, we don't know which one of you has problems. So we can't simply, by right, you can't simply give an advice without knowing what the actual problem is. But of course, if for example, I just give you an example. If, for example, that person knows already their disease, and then they've already discussed with the doctors. Some supplements do not need prescription. They can just discuss with the doctor. Doctor say that's fine, you can have that. It won't have any problems with you. that's okay. They can go and buy from the pharmacies. But the thing is, if they don't know and they're taking something else which they don't need, number one, and number two, it might harm your internal organs. That's the problem.
Okay, so at this juncture, walk us through the do's and don'ts of using supplements, especially for those who already know that they have an underlying condition, perhaps a comorbidity.
Okay, I think this is a very important question as well because I mentioned earlier the percentage of people having comorbidities in Malaysia is very high. To me, it's very very high and it's increasing. If you look at the kidney disease per se as well, 15.5% of population in Malaysia has kidney disease. So that is already a huge number if you look at it. So basically, you don't even though you feel well, you don't know whether you've got issues or not. So therefore, if you don't know and you're taking something else you don't need, I think you show my video in TikTok where I said if you look at the guidelines, vitamin C, you only need 70 to 100 milligrams per day. That's it, right?
Oh, but the general understanding is up to 1,000 milligrams.
Yeah, but you don't need it. Why do you need something you don't need? That's my always my question. And also, if you have comorbidities, you're on many tablets, right? And you don't know whether there's interaction between the tablets. You don't know what your kidney can can hold, anything
Yeah.
extra. Yeah, you don't need all those. As I mentioned, you don't need extra doses of anything, especially when you have comorbidities where your kidneys are just about managing what you have, and then you add on something else you don't need. I think they might increase the workload of the kidney, and the kidney might deteriorate faster than what you usually do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Doc, I know we couldn't, at the brief here, we couldn't help notice your stern social media rant or perhaps warning to a certain celebrity. What was all that about? Please tell us more, because every artist or influencer, it seems to me now, is promoting something or the other when it comes to supplements. They all seem to be very knowledgeable about what works. What should the man on the street or the lady on the street know about supplements and supplement promoters, i.e., artists and celebrities? There seems to be perhaps some sort of misinformation as well.
Okay, so basically, it is not a personal thing. I do not, target any celebrities or anyone, but I really would hope, if they could collaborate with us, help us actually, because they are well known. They have influence to the society looks up to them. So this is the time where I really need their help, to be honest. And I also would like to remind them as well. There's something called Panduan, for you. There's a guidelines for you to actually what you can advertise and what you can't advertise. And definitely, if you're looking at kidney disease, hypertension, there are the blood pressure issues, heart disease, and all that, you cannot use those things while advertising it. It doesn't matter whether you put it on the poster or just merely saying it, or somebody else putting the name, the disease on it. That's against the rules and regulations, and it's really not ethical. I don't want to fight with anyone. I just want cooperation. Just help us, because I'm seeing deaths every day, sufferings every day. I'm just pleading, really, to be honest with you.
Thank you for that timely warning and reminder, of course. Now, I'd like to know, what is your nephrological take on supplement or medication like ketostril? It's a supplement in some countries, and it's known as a classified med here in Malaysia, which, however, funnily enough, can still be purchased without a prescription, all for just under 240 ringgit, Doc.
Okay, I think this is called ketosteril, you mentioned just now. It is there, but it's not easy to take, right? I would advise those with kidney disease to have actually discussions with your kidney doctors how to take it. So this is what ketosteril is a protein supplementation. Good proteins that won't affect your kidney. So when you have chronic kidney disease, basically later stage 3, 4, and 5, we advise you to cut down your protein to very low protein diet, very low. So because the protein increases the load of the kidney, and because of that the kidney will fail faster. So we don't want you to be malnourished. Of course, there is certain supplementation of proteins which does not harm the kidney in kind of this kind of tablets. But the thing is, this tablet is fine. It's actually not easy to take, by right, you need to see a dietitian. So there's no point taking it without knowing what should happen or together with it. And it has been shown, if you take it properly, it does maintain the kidney disease. It doesn't go to the level of needing dialysis quickly, but I think hardly 10% can actually take it properly.
Okay,
Because
Doc, I'm getting signals from the production team to say we have run out of time, but I did want to highlight to viewers about the My Buah Pinggang movement. Perhaps they can find more information online, Doc. Thank you for highlighting this and for the stern warning as well. I'm sure we all will take note of this. We'll speak to you again.
Thank you.
That was Dr. Rafidah Abdullah, of course, weighing in on how we should take care of our kidneys. Well, it's time now to move on to the international right here on the brief. Spain says they will buy monkeypox vaccine. The number of cases in the country currently stands at 55. Total cases, 55 are in Madrid, and then there's another 4 apparently on the Canary Islands, most of them traced to an adult sauna that was shuttered last week. According to Reuters, a few cases in both regions are linked to a 10-day gay parade festival in Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands. Now, in a new development, bacteria containing genes of natural antibiotic and antimicrobial resistance have been discovered in Antarctica. Well, here's the warning of potential spread of the bacteria out of the polar regions. According to Chilean scientists, these superpowers, which evolved to resist extreme conditions, can easily be transferred to other bacteria. And in Pakistan, according to its foreign minister, an ongoing bailout deal between Pakistan and the IMF is outdated given the number of global crises as the country struggles to implement targets set by the lender. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari adds that it would be justified for Pakistan to plead this case before the IMF in current talks. Pakistan entered a 3-year, $6 billion IMF deal back in 2019, but is now struggling to implement tough policy commitments. On the other side of the globe in Latin America, its president, Jair Bolsonaro, signed a decree in a move to step up fines for environmental crimes for the protection of Amazon rainforests. Now, this environmental fines, which also targets infractions such as unauthorized hunting, fishing, and pollution, are among Brazil's key initiatives in combating illegal deforestation. And now, a study finds that an endangered monarch butterfly increased its presence in Mexico last year, giving experts optimism despite decade-long population decline. The butterflies migrate 4,500 kilometers from Canada and the US to warmer Mexico, where millions cover entire trees that visitors flock to see. These butterflies boost ecosystems with their journey promoting a wide range of flowering plants as well as helping crops. And in soccer now, Roma won their first major European title in more than 60 years as Nicolo Zaniolo's first half goal earned the Italians a 1-0 victory in the Europa Conference League in the finals in Albania. And now on to what's trending on the mighty Bluebird, that's Twitter. Hashtag KL Central is the word of the town as nightmare commuting became an extra nightmare following flooding in the capital after heavy downpour. Just yesterday, many KLites are still sharing images showing the aftermath of clogged roads. Well, that's all the time we have on the midday today. The next bulletin is the news in Bahasa Malaysia at 1 p.m. Later this afternoon, there's Malaysia Petang Ini right here on Bernama TV, discussing all that's trending for the rest of today. We're available on social media, on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Leave your comments, share your thoughts. We hope to pick up some of that and make those our discussion points right here on The Brief. I'm Jessy Chahal. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.